Hi, my name is Tiago Duarte and welcome to another video tutorial here at Daily Beats. In today's video we are going to talk about internal automation and how we can use internal controllers from FL Studio to automate parameters inside our project, and also we are going to talk about sidechaining. So the first thing I would like to ask you is to activate the notifications. Subscribe to this channel and activate the notifications so that you know when we upload new videos, and leave a like, and if you have any questions or suggestions, just leave them in comments below and I will gladly help you. And consider buying one of our products in dailybeats.pt because it helps a lot our channel to grow, and if you do, thanks a lot. And yeah, so the first thing I'm going to do is to create a drum loop, and I'm going to use one of our sample packs, or the latest sample pack at dailybeats.pt, which is called Head Banging Trap Drums. And here is the kit. I'm going to use a kick, this one here. I'm going to use a snare, this one, and can be this hi-hat. And now let's go here to MIDI loops and let's bring the kick, the snare, and the hi-hat. I want to put this hi-hat shorter. Let me go here to the envelope and let's play with the decay. Okay, so now let's bring everything to the mixer. Let's bring down the hi-hat. Let's take everything and put it here, route to this track, because this will be the mix track. Even though I'm not going to make a beat, this is just for example sake. So this is the kick, this is the snare, and this is hi-hats. Okay, so now let me grab 808. Okay, I like this one. And now we can close the browser because I'm not going to use any more sound. So this is 808, and what I'm going to do is to bring make the kick duck the volume of the 808. So every time the kick hits, I'm going to duck the volume of the 808. And now we are going to do that with internal automation and also with sidechaining. So the first thing I'm going to do is to go here. Actually, I have to tune this 808. So this is in the key of F. So let's go here to F. I think this is F. No, this is F. Okay, and now I'm going to put the envelope with hold in the maximum and the other ones at minimum. And now let me find the kick pattern. Let me copy the kick pattern because I want my kicks, my 808s to follow the kick. So now I'm going to hit Control L to extend the notes, and this one here at the bottom I will do it manually. And now let's listen. Okay, one thing that I'm going to do is, instead of lowering the volume here, I'm going to lower here in the channel rack, and I will show you why in a second. Okay, and now let's do some changes here. Okay, just so that we don't have the same key playing all the time. Okay, so now we have our 808, our kick, snare, and hi-hat. What I'm going to do is I'm going here to the kick channel, and I'm going to the slot 1, and let's go here to controller. And these are several controllers that you can use to automate stuff here in FL Studio. So let's go with peak controller. And as you can see here, in these ones, I have kick, kick. And this here, I have kick, kick, and then 3 kicks in a row. So I have kick, kick, and 3 kicks in a row. So what this is doing is receiving the signal from the kick and is putting the signal here in this timeline. Every time the kick hits, it shows here in this horizontal timeline. Okay, so now we have here several options. We have the section of the LFO, which I'm not going to use for this tutorial, and we have here the peak section, and this is the thing that we want to check out. So let's see. Here we have the base, and the base allows us to increase the base or give an offset to this signal that we are seeing on here on this timeline. And we can take it off, put it at 0, and there is no offset, so we will have the volume here at the bottom. And if we increase the base, let's say 0.5%, 50%, we will have the base, the bottom of this timeline now is at the middle of the timeline, if that made sense. Okay, now we have the volume, where we can control the volume of the signal coming inside of the peak controller. So if I put at 0, we have no signal. Actually, we have a little bit of signal because it's not 0, now it's 0, and we can see that we have nothing here in the timeline, even though we have those ghost nodes or those ghost signals. And then we can also put it negative, and negative, to see it you have to put the base at the top, as you can see here. Okay, so normally let's put this at 80%, which is the reset value, I think so. No, it's 0. Let's put at 80% or maybe 100%. Okay, and now here we have the tension, and the tension will make the signal more. For instance, here we are seeing the signal is decreasing very fast because of the tension. If I increase the tension, you will see that we have a bigger signal here in the timeline. So you can mess around with the tension, and now with the decay. So let's say we put the decay up to 100%. We can see now that we have all this part is full, which means that the signal is decaying very fast. And if we put this at very low values, the decay is very, very slow. And if I put at 0, you will see that is almost nothing that is decaying. So let's reset this. Okay, so these are the parameters, and you see the effect of the parameters. So what can we do with this? I said in the beginning of the video that I wanted to, every time the kick hits, I want to duck the 808. For that, I'm going to right click here on the fader of the 808. So I'm not going to create automation, I'm going to link to controller, and this is what we call internal automations, or at least what I call it. And as you can see here, we have an internal controller and we have the mapping formula. These are the two that we are going to mess around with. And if you open up this menu, you will see that we have Fruity Peak Controller Kick, and that's why it's important to name your channels, because if you want to know from which controller belongs to, you have to name everything. In this case, I named this channel kick, I know that my signal is coming from the kick. So this is the peak controller from the kick. So let's say, let me close this. Let's say I had here another peak controller. And in the hi-hat, I'm going to use a Fruity formula controller. So we have 3 different plugins inside of each of these channels. If I go now here to the 808, right click and link to controller, and now if I open this, you now see that we have a lot more options. But now we know that this is the kick, this is the snare, and this belongs to the hi-hat. So this is a nice way if you have, I don't know, 15 or 20 tracks and they all have controllers inside. This is a nice way for you to know from which channel they belong to. So let me go ahead and take this off because we don't need it. It was just for this to explain this. So I'm in the kick. So no, I'm in the snare. So let me bring this. Okay. God damn it. I deleted the kick one. Okay, so controller, peak controller. And now if I go here to the 808 and right click again, link to controller. And if I go here, Fruity peak controller, now we see these parts here. We have peak plus LFO, peak and just LFO. And I said we are only going to worry about the peak part. So I'm going to use control peak or peak control peak. And let's accept and let's hit play. So what is happening here is that every time the kick hits, the volume of the controller opens up. So if I wanted to bring it more, you see that now it goes a little bit higher. And if I wanted to open up more the signal, this is a nice effect. I can even increase the bass so that the fader goes pretty close to 100%. But this is not what I intended to do, or I said I was going to do. I said I was going to do every time the kick hits, the 808 ducks, and this is the opposite. Every time the kick hits, the 808 hits also. So let me reset the decay. Let me put the volume at 100% and the bass off. And now I'm going to link to controller again. And here I have a formula, a mapping formula. And what I'm going to do is, what I want to do is to invert the signal. So I'm going here to this menu and I'm going to click inverted. And as you saw, the line was like this, going up, and now is going down. And the mapping formula is 1 minus input. And if we accept that, and if I play now, you see that the 808 is at the maximum, and whenever the kick hits, the 808 ducks. But now we have to adjust some of these parameters. And for instance, the bass, I can increase the bass to decrease the volume of the 808, and increase the volume of this knob, the volume knob, so that the 808, this slider goes even lower. And we can play around with the decay or even with the tension. To have it more or less, to have a quick attack or not attack. It's hard to say what the tension is doing, but as you can see here, this part here, the top part of the peak is more sharp, and if I put the tension more up, if I put the tension with a positive more than 50% value, we now see that we have a more, how can I say, we have kind of a hold signal. It's hard to explain, but you can see here the difference. In the beginning, with the tension below 50%, we have a more sharp top or transient. With the tension above 50%, we have a more flat transient. And this translates also here to the slider. Oops. Okay, so this is one way of doing this. Another way would be to, let me reset this, put this on default. Let me go here, link to controller, and I'm going to leave it as default. So the input is the formula. So we have again the raising line going, the line going up. So let's accept that, and whenever we click now, just to update, it starts at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is to increase the bass and now put the volume negative. So the bass, I can put it at 80%, and now the volume. You see, there are several ways of doing the same thing inside FL Studio. And this is a very nice thing, or a nice nice thing in FL Studio, is because you can do different things or the same thing different ways. So there is not always one way of doing things, which is a nice thing, because it gives room for creativity. So as you can see, now we have the same effect, and we can also play with the tension. Now the tension will work opposite as we did in the previous example, because now the volume is negative, and as you can see here, the tension below 50%, now we have the sharp transient, and if we go above 50%, we will have the flat transient. Okay. And that's it. That's how you can automate stuff, or how you can duck the 808 using the kick. You can also do the same for the snare and the hi-hats. You are not limited to the kick. But one thing that I would like to caution you about is that I don't recommend you to do this kind of automation to these sliders here in the mixer. Why? It's simple, because if you want to mix, let's say you have a client that says, okay, the 808 is too loud, or even you, if you are mixing and you go and experience your recordings on a different pair of monitors, or on your car, or on your headphones, and you say, okay, the 808 is too loud or too low. You want to change that. If you want to change here, you will not be able to, because the automation will override your adjustments. So what I recommend you to do is to reset these, don't do automations here on these faders. So let's reset that, accept, and you have here inside of FL Studio an option or a plugin to do that. And if you go here, select plugins, let's go to gain, and you have Fruity Pen-O-Matic. If we click here on Fruity Pen-O-Matic, you see that now we have again some LFO functions, but that's not what we want. We want to just automate here the volume. So we can click here on the volume, right click, link to controller, and let's go ahead and choose pick controller, accept. And now we have the same type of effect, as you can see here in the Pen-O-Matic. And that's why I decreased the volume here, because if I put the volume at 100% or at reset value, we would just listen the 808, and the kick would be not present in the mix, let's say like that. So if I now move here this fader, I have control over the overall volume of the 808, and I continue with the Parametric, doing the automation that I want happening via the kick. So this is the best way to work because it's non-destructive. Let's say, okay, like this, the 808 is too loud, I can lower it, but I still have the same effect as I did in the beginning. So this is the best way for you to do this kind of automations. I strongly recommend that you never do automations here with these knobs. Only bring only the Parametric or another plugin that you can select. There are several other plugins, even dynamics here, the limiter. You can decrease the gain. You know, you can automate this parameter to do something like this. We can do that. For instance, let's go ahead and bypass Parametric, reset here the gain, link to controller, and pick. Again, we now see that it creates some gain. Yeah, was not the best idea here to do that, but you can go ahead, you can go to the kick and adjust here some parameters. But even if I have this one here, if I want, I have the liberty to use this fader to mix my 808 as I like. So this is the best way. Always do these kind of automations with a plugin and not directly on the mix faders. Okay, so this is one way to do ducking or to duck the volume of an instrument based on the other, in this case the 808 based on the kick. The other way to do this is doing some sidechaining. So to do that, to do some sidechain, we can click on here on the kick channel and go here to the 808 without clicking, and going here to this up arrow and right click here and select sidechain to this track. And as you can see here, now we have a line but with no volume. This is a line with volume, or a route with volume, and we don't want any volume, we just want the signal information. So let's go here to 808 and let's call dynamics limiter, and this limiter has the comp section, and we can select it. And here in the sidechain, if we right click, you will see again the name kick. Let's click kick and let's hit play, and now we can decrease the threshold, and we can now start to see here these very light lines, and these are the kick. So let's go ahead and put a threshold something like this, and now let's increase the ratio to about 3 or 4 to 1. Let's decrease the threshold again, and now we can see that we have now created some sidechaining, and we are ducking the 808, not in the same how can I say, in the same quantity, because I didn't put very extreme settings here in the threshold. But if I do something like this, you will see very extreme values. So it's up to you, to your music style. It depends on the music style that you are producing. It depends a lot on the music. But as you can see here, now we have the bass or the 808 ducking also when the kick hits, and you also have the knee that you can adjust to give you different parameters. So, and you also have attack, release, and sustain. So if you put release up to the maximum, you will now have a very long curve until the compressor releases. And if we put a smaller release, we can start to see now some of distortion here. some kind of distortion, not distortion, but yeah, this is giving a little bit of distortion, which might be something that you want, I don't know. But again, you can mess around with this with the volume, the threshold, ratio, and attack and release, and also here with the curve to give different curves for your waves here, or your shapes here in the kick. And yeah, that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you are new here to this channel, please subscribe and activate the notification so that you know when we upload new videos. If you like this video, leave a like. And if you have any questions or suggestions, just leave them in the comments below and I will answer. And consider buying one of our products, because it helps us a lot to continue to make free tutorials to YouTube and Facebook. And if you want, go grab a copy of our new drum kit, Headbanging Trap Drums. And yeah, I think that's it, guys. Again, I hope you enjoyed. My name is Tiago Duarte, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.